Well, that was an interesting episode.
I agree.
I think it's so interesting to come back around and talk a little bit about what we just heard in the episode that the listeners are going to hear today from someone who just really is not in love with doing their own marketing at all, and yet has an amazingly successful business. And I think that leads us to just have a conversation about how you don't have to love marketing as a business leader and you can still see amazing success.
Yeah, I think that we oftentimes have guests on here. Not even oftentimes, I think all the time. Our guests are really excited and pumped up about marketing and different tactics and the success. And that's not really always the case. And that doesn't mean that you're not a good business leader. In fact, I think you're a better business leader if you understand where your strengths aren't and where you need to delegate and how to best delegate. And also knowing that you need to do these things, not just assuming, oh, well, I don't want to do social media because I don't like it, so my company doesn't need it.
Yeah, our guest today, certainly, she is all about delegating some marketing. And she has seen success with marketing tactics since she bought the business. But she has a really hard time expressing that she likes anything about it.
I'd actually say she doesn't like it.
I'd say she absolutely doesn't like it. But she delegates, and we've got to love that because we do outsource marketing tactics and strategy with clients, and I think strategically she is doing what she needs to do to be successful by outsourcing her marketing initiatives.
Are you ready to unlock the secrets of brand innovation? Here you'll discover unexpected ways to make your brand soar in value. Get ready for inspiring stories, actionable tips, and insights you'll need to build your brand and learn an entirely new way to fly. This is the Hummingbird Effect. And now your host, Wendy Colter.
Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy Colter. I'm the CEO and president of Hummingbird Creative Group, and I help CEOs and marketing leaders unlock the hidden power of their brands. For the past 30 years, I've watched leaders focus on marketing tactics, what they're doing next. But I believe that what's really important is building a strong brand through strategy. And we see the hummingbird effect happen from time to time. That's what we're here to talk about today. And that's like the co-evolution of the flower and the hummingbird, and how small changes in your marketing or branding can make really big, unexpected changes in other areas of your business. So that's what we're going to delve into. And I have Hannah with me today, as usual. Hi, Hannah.
Hello, Wendy.
Hannah's our marketing strategist at Hummingbird, and she's joining us for the show today. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Yeah?
How are you doing?
Very good. It sounds like you've had some great meetings today.
I've been in a lot of meetings today and tomorrow and the next day.
Yes, I added one to your calendar while I was out today. So it's been a busy time at Hummingbird. It's the fall, and people are getting in budget season. So we have a lot of really deep conversations this time of the year. So I'm happy you're here with me today because I know you've been in it. So I'm super excited about today's guest. So Kimberly Mitchell with Home with Help is our guest today, and I met Kimberly through NABO, which is the National Association of Women Business Owners. And she is going to delve in with us today into the world of branding in her world of home health. And we're going to talk about how seemingly small innovations in her marketing have led to some big wins. I did some research today, and I knew Kimberly had some kids. And that's an understatement. I bow down to her because she balances so much. But did find that your daughter just started college at Arizona State, right?
She did.
Congratulations on that. So my daughter Callie is applying right now. She's a senior, and I need to learn from you. So what's it like for you to know that she's about to be adulting in a big way away from home?
Right. From the applications and that sort of process, I hired a college coach, which the emotional mom side is a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm starting to feel that a little bit already, and we're a year out. So watch the students going onto campus here in my hometown, and it just was like, oh, that's going to be it next year. Wow.
Once they start driving, it seems like the last couple of years, I mean, obviously I saw her, but I didn't see her as much as, I had before that. So I think it's kind of their way of prepping us before they actually leave the house.
Well, that's true. That's so true. Well, I mentioned NABO, so I've had so much fun traveling with you. We've been to Arizona, which I know is your home state, but all the way to D.C. and a few places in between. Kimberly and I serve on a mastermind together called NABO Circle, and we get to meet with these ladies once a month online and then get together face-to-face at different events, and it's just a wonderful way to learn from others, what they're going through that's similar as business owners. And Kimberly, you've been such a great mentor to me, and I'm just excited to be having this conversation. So thank you for being here.
Me.
Yeah. So do you want to share any fun facts about yourself before we delve into your story and your business? What do I don't know about Kimberly?
I was like, Wendy, not know already. I think you already know that I was living in Mexico at the time that both of my girls were born.
Yes.
And my husband's Canadian, so they have all 3 citizenships, which is kind of a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. Wow.
Yeah. I was born and raised here. I mean, I was gone for 14 years, so it's kind of cheating, but I am technically a native. Which is, there's a lot of transplants here, so everybody seems to be surprised when there's actually a native around.
Well, I also saw that you were recently on the morning show. I think that was recent. Was that recent? The morning show in hometown?
2 weeks ago, I think, give or take.
Yeah. So I don't know if that'll play into your story about marketing, but sounds like you're a local star now. You've been featured on the morning show there in your hometown. So congratulations on that.
Thanks. I'm not quite sure we're in Hollywood just yet, but yeah.
Well, Kimberly, tell our listeners about you and your journey to business ownership and where you are today.
Well, like I said, I was born and raised here. I moved when I was 23, and of course, all of it's a really long story, but the shortest version is in all of the years of traveling back up here, and then once I had my girls and bringing them back up, we could see the decline of, had a great-grandmother, didn't pass till she was 103. All 4 of my grandparents got into their 80s. Both my grandmothers got into their 90s. So there was a lot of planning and things that, come with trying to age in place. And we got to sort of see the struggles and, that kind of stuff. And so we thought that we could, potentially help and then hopefully do it better.
And what year did you start the business?
I actually bought it from previous owners, so it originated in 2002. The concept of the business is that it's non-medical home care services. So most of our clients are seniors, and some are younger, and it's daily non-medical needs: bathing, dressing, take them to the doctor, meal prep, laundry, that kind of stuff. We have 200 caregivers now around the valley, so we serve people, pretty much anywhere in our county for the most part, which is a pretty big county. And yeah, I mean, I can't do it by myself, so I'm going to have a fabulous admin staff in here that helps to do all of the things that need to get done to take care of all of these people.
Yeah, well, 200 caregivers, that is a big team to manage. So congratulations on doing that every day of your life. So let's jump into Hummingbird Effect a little bit and just talk about your marketing and how you've seen maybe some small changes that you've made on the marketing side impact other areas of the business in a big way. Do you have a situation you can share with us?
I would say that probably one of the simplest shifts was when I thankfully got to the point where I could afford to hire somebody else to do this for me, because I'm not a fan, which is why we love people like you. But once they were consistently posting on social media, it was interesting to be out in the community and networking and events and have people actually notice the brand.
Absolutely. So talk about innovation a little bit. Do you feel like you've implemented like something that was innovative to you that's had an impact on the business?
In the beginning, all of our referrals would have come from other home help type, professionals in some senior care space, hospices, assisted living, stuff like that. And I think we weren't showing up online as, the way that we, see ourselves as a, family-owned, community-driven company. And then once we were consistent about highlighting those services and values and all of those things online, I think the visibility obviously was important and made a difference.
Well, how are you measuring the results, and what kind of measurement have you been able to express? What kind of results have you seen?
I think that the outcome or success wasn't necessarily about the clicks or the likes, but more of the conversations that I'd have when somebody would see a post, and I'd be out at some networking event or charity or something like that, and then recognizing the brand and kind of feeling connected, and over time that visibility I think helped to open doors to other referral partners or actual referrals. I mean, I'm sure, as marketing is it's hard sometimes to keep track of exactly where everything comes from and where that referral actually came from originally. It's hard to keep track sometimes.
Well, we're in like a more complicated space now, right? So we talk about lift in marketing and how important it is to be doing different tactics because they lift other tactics or they lift your results, and you don't necessarily always have a straight line for that. And Hannah, we talk to clients about this all the time and how hard it can be, especially in service businesses and places where like you're not selling a thing. So you're not putting something on sale where you can go, okay, 2,000 people came and bought this at 50% off or whatever. It's very different when you're in a service-based business like you are to know other than through what you hear through the grapevine, right?
Yeah.
So, but it sounds like you are feeling that there are results of what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's just hard to measure them exactly. And it's one thing if they phone and we ask, how'd you get our information? Oh, well, your brochure was sitting at the rehab place as I was, being discharged. It was like, oh, great. And of course, I know exactly where that came from. And other times, it's like, I don't know. I got your number somehow, some way. I'm like, oh, yeah. So where should I spend that marketing money?
Right. So how are you making those decisions right now on how you spend that budget? We're going into 2026, so we're having a lot of budget conversations in the office, huh, Hannah?
We are. A lot of them.
And
slow
Hannah
down.
just wrote a blog about like thinking through what the best spend is and the best way to work on your marketing budget and figure out like which tactics you should be focused on. So are you in that headspace right now where you're working on the budgets for next year?
I think I think my head is always in that space.
That's good.
But just, generally speaking of where money should go, yes, overall. I think that, I don't know, sometimes it feels kind of like you throw a lot up against the wall and just sort of see what sticks. And I loathe most of any of like the social media and all that kind of stuff, but I'm very well aware that it is insanely important so that the branding is consistent and the marketing is consistent. I think some of the things that we're already doing, we'll probably just keep doing the same because we've grown each year. So I don't know that I'll change a huge amount, but I think being out in the community on top of the online things is the combination. I think is work smarter, not harder, kind of thing.
When you and I talked not that long ago about getting out in the community, and let's talk about the morning show opportunity. How did that come about? How did you find that? And how do you feel about getting that message out about home health to your local community, and what kind of impact do you think that'll have?
There's another women's group here called Women 360, and Heather, that is the owner of that group, had been on the show some weeks back, and in that conversation, then there was I think wondering if other women business owners that were in her group, if they would also like to attend. So that's how that came about. And I'm sure you tell your clients the same, like the more visibility, the more places you can stick your logo on, the more articles, all the things. And getting your face out there is important, which most of that stuff I hate doing. But it's important.
Have you heard through the community and through people that you've interacted with since that they saw you on the show, and do you feel like your message was well received?
The people that have reached out, I think, is mostly probably because they saw it online. Like,
Okay.
It's been put onto Facebook and LinkedIn and all the socials. So I think for the most part, the people that I know that's where that's come from. Now, if we get calls as actual referrals and that's where they happen to see us, then that would be great. I just haven't had that happen yet. Or if they have called, they haven't said that that's where they saw our information.
Kimberly, can you share with my listeners what your message was on the morning show about your company? So I think that's really impactful from what I was seeing online.
The state of Arizona is not the greatest about enforcing. There's not a lot of oversight when it comes to home care here. Like we obviously have a business license, but we don't have a medical type license or something like that because we provide non-medical services. So the oversight for us comes because we're contracted with the state, with our Access, which is our state Medicaid version. So I say all that to say that if somebody, if you just got a business card and a brochure and was just doing private pay clients, there's no one checking any of the things. And obviously there's a lot of agencies that are going to dot the I's and cross the T's and do the right thing, but there's nobody checking for the ones that don't. So I say all that because whether they use our agency or not, I want them to pick an agency that is contracted with the state as well as having private pay clients, because at least then they know that someone is making sure that the background checks are done and the trainings and all of the things that we need to make sure that they are certified and kept up on, and all the stuff.
I think that's so important in general for anyone in any state to understand what their state is doing to protect them, if their state is doing what they need to protect them, beyond the state contractors, right? Which, I just think, we got to take care of that community and make sure that we're doing them right. And you hear the horror stories. So I applaud you for standing out in that and making sure that people understand the difference and that you're doing the right thing. I've seen two grandmothers in different situations and other family members, and you want to think that your loved one is in the right place with the right people, and so thank you for your care and attention to that. And I think that is a big differentiator for your company from what I've seen, that you actually, you're dedicated to doing the right thing for the people that you serve.
Yeah, and it matters, because if they're, our association here locally, or the national part of being in that association, is all of your employees have to be proper W-2 employees. And that matters because if they're 1099s, well, I would make a lot more money, for one. But if they're 1099s and they fell in a client's home and something were to happen, they would go after the homeowner's insurance because they wouldn't have workers' comp as an option. And that's part of the reason why that's, of course, super important, is so that we can protect the clients, because things happen.
Are there statistics around how much longer a person can stay in their home with the type of help that your organization provides, as opposed to going into some sort of facility? I'm assuming that even just being a friend or a confidant, somebody to talk to, as well as help with all of the non-medical things, super important to maybe keeping someone at home longer. Is that true?
I don't know if there's statistics around that particularly. There definitely are statistics out there. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but about the lack of reentry into hospitalizations, which is, of course, huge. And the hospitals appreciate that, because if somebody reenters within a month for the same thing, I don't think they can bill the same, which is, obviously something they don't want to happen. And we want the outcome of keeping them out of the hospital as much as possible. So those statistics are big. In the majority of that population wants to stay at home, but there are some that really want that assisted living community kind of atmosphere, where there's bingo and there's their chair yoga and all the things that they offer, and the community of eating together and that kind of stuff. And so some choose to move into a place like that when they start to need more assistance. So it's not necessarily that they have to. So I'm not sure how those kind of stats would be kept track of, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what's next for you with marketing? Do you have any new ideas, or is your social media person encouraging you to do anything that you're just kind of bouncing around in your head right now?
Well, she's been bothering me, which I'm pretty sure you and I talked about a year and a half ago, about doing more TV sort of things. So the morning show is kind of the first under my belt. I didn't throw up or die, so I figure I'll probably survive. Number one.
Well, at least you're not going crazy because TikTok's hit your world just yet, huh, Hannah?
I thought that that's what she was going to say. And I was like, I don't think that they're going to be on TikTok, but I could be wrong. And you went further. You went to TV. So I'm not asking you to do that.
I mean, I'm giving her some props here for going that
it
far.
Is
awesome. So what do you think about her story? I mean,
yeah, I actually want to go back to one of the first things that you said, and talk about purchasing the business. Can you talk about why you purchased this one? Were you considering multiple businesses? And, well, I guess we can start there, and then I can elaborate a little bit more.
Okay. So a couple of years before moving back here, we knew that we were going in that general direction. So I had started to do a whole bunch of research on what was happening, in the States, and we actually went through a franchise process, which we are not a franchise, but in that process, it was his job essentially was to take our, strengths and weaknesses and past, work history and whatnot, and match us with franchises that were for sale at the time. And in all of that process, I took out of it that I wanted nothing to do with the franchise, for one, and that this industry was something that we saw a need. And since it's not medical, we didn't have to have any nursing or that kind of medical background. So it made it easier, if you will. And then there was kind of a little bit of luck, a little bit of things just sort of aligning. And somebody had suggested seeing a business broker. So when we went to him, back then it was a massive binder, and explained that our now 14-year-old was 2 at the time, and no restaurants, no bars, no clubs, no bakeries, things that would be up late, up early kind of sort of stuff. And so he pretty much took half of that binder and flipped it over. So I thought, wow, how many restaurants and things are for sale? And then we just kind of started looking to see what was out there, and Home with Help was had one of the ones that had come up, and then we had met with another one, and it came up again, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a sign that we should pay a little bit more attention. So we got it when there was 11 clients and 15 caregivers at the time.
And what about it, other than the fact that it popped up a few times, what was already set in place that was important or beneficial or attracted you to purchase it?
The industry in and of itself had become very attractive after going through the franchise process to figure out, because we wanted something that, obviously we want to make money, but that there's a give back component and helping people, as opposed to, there was a transportation kind of business, and there was, various other things, of course, for sale. But the franchise process kind of brought this industry to the front of mind, and then going through all of the things that I was going through with all the grandparents and whatnot at the same time, and it just seemed to kind of all align.
Are you ready to find your own hummingbird effect and enable your brand to take flight? Wendy would love to chat with you. Schedule a 30-minute call with her to discuss how she can help transform your brand. Visit the link in the show notes to book your appointment, or send an email to wendy@hummingbird-creative.com. Take your brand to new heights. Schedule your quick 30-minute call today.
What is something that you maintained after the purchase that you continued to do? And what is one of the first things that you changed or redid whenever you got everything settled?
After the initial shock of what have I gotten myself into, I think, Well, there was some processes and procedures that the previous owners were doing in taxes and payroll and things like that, that we doubled in the first year. So I really had no choice but to, I was doing all of the taxes and all the payroll and all of the things. And so then after a year, I had to start to outsource lots of things. So that was definitely different, but that was, just came with the growth. And then
Right.
sometimes it was just kind of figuring it out as you go.
Do you know what led to that growth? Or was it more just attentiveness to the business?
The gentlemen that had it before were very, very nice guys. I don't think they were kind of getting out there. I don't think they were getting out in the community. I'm not sure that they were, didn't want to spend money to make money. So from what I could gather, we had to redo the entire website. I mean, there was stuff that just was not, it was outdated. And so there was, a lot of that was, they should have kept up. And I think that kind of stunted the growth for them. Because from what I could tell when we had looked at numbers, which of course has been almost 11 years now, but that had been, they were making money, but it was kind of leveled and sort of stagnant for a little while.
So there was definitely some marketing items that you focused on, like the website and building your community. And it was just those simple actions that it sounded like you said doubled in the first year?
Yeah, in the first year.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
Kimberly, how are you tracking now in the sense of, now that you are kind of delving into both digital marketing in a bigger way, as well as the television and the media side of things, how are sales tracking and what are you hopeful for maybe for this year and the upcoming year?
Well, I don't, it's hard to, if we ask them, literally on the client's profile, I have a spot to put on there of where the referral came from. So when I know where it came from, then of course I can keep track of all those things, but it's hard to know when it kind of goes through the grapevine of multiple different people or scenarios or whatnot. It's it's kind of hard to keep track. Like, I know we started, I can't think of the name of it, but it's a way basically to track the calls from Google Ads to see how many obviously phone calls that came, how long they lasted, it's like that kind of sort of stuff, and that's relatively new. I don't know. I just kind of started tracking that maybe a month ago, so might have to answer that part of that question another time.
No, but that's great that you're starting to track. Do you feel like your sales growth has, obviously you're up to 200 people now. So has sales growth continued to improve, and do you feel like it's improving this year with getting out into the community even more than you did when you first bought the business?
Yeah, every year there's been growth up in this year. I think we're going to do a little bit less actually than we did last year, which will be the first year. And there's probably nothing to do with marketing, but there is a lot of stuff that happened here in Arizona with Medicaid things, and so some of that, business, there's issues, and on the private pay side. Anytime there's an election, doesn't really matter what side you're on, it seems like everything's a little people are a little weird about spending money and, holding on to it and that kind of stuff. So there was a little bit of a dip in that, but I don't think that any of that really has anything to do with the marketing. And I hear it from my gal all the time, it's like branding, marketing, so it's just like being all the places all the time, posting, socials, the blogs, the newsletters, like on and on and on. And thank you, Jesus, for people like you guys, because I don't want to do any of that anymore.
So I know, and I kind of hear it in your voice. I mean, there's so much to navigate now with marketing,
seriously.
right? There's just so many things, and you wouldn't have survived and been in a position of growth for as long as you have been without being nimble and without adapting. So, do you have any advice for other business owners as they're just kind of their heads spinning as well with how to manage some of what you've been through?
My advice would be simple. I think that to not, don't underestimate the power of showing up and being consistent. And start small. Obviously, letting your values be shown and not doing it alone, because obviously we can't do all of the things, and we're usually not good at all of the things anyway. Putting myself in rooms, or putting themselves in rooms with people that are smarter than they are, leaning on the community. And it's not about selling so much as about the relationships, and building the trust within those relationships, and focus on the connections, and then the growth will follow and come sooner or later.
We love to hear the word values come up in a marketing conversation like this. And I think, Hannah, to your point, there were special values from the beginning when they chose to go into this type of industry, right? And so, it sounds like, Kimberly, you're living your core values every day. You may not realize how well that is trickling down to your team, but I think that has a lot to do with why you can see consistent growth on a regular basis. The humble business owner, I think, is in front of us, right, Hannah?
Very.
So what else do you feel like you do on a regular basis to just stay nimble in your space? And it doesn't have to be marketing, Kimberly, just in general. I mean, I think with all the change we've seen in the world, what do you feel like you have to do every day as a business owner to just stay nimble and adapt?
I'm a huge proponent for self-care, and whatever that looks like for each person, of course, is very different. But I get up very early every day. I meditate, and I have my tea. I work out twice on weekends. And I, if you don't have, the mental, that then also makes you not be like, emotionally, I think I'd be all over the place if I didn't keep myself in check in the the mental and spiritual part of it, which can be a very emotional business. And then of course, the more employees you have, the more drama you have. So kind of trying to keep yourself together so that you don't lose it on everybody else around you.
Sure. Anna, any final thoughts or questions from you?
Yeah, of course. I always have final thoughts. I just kind of wanted to recap what I was hearing your Hummingbird effect be, and sorry if I'm looking down, I am reading my notes back. But your small change that you had was focusing on the community, and that started with your reason for purchase. It started for why you were moving back to Arizona. And then after you realize that this business is going to thrive when people connect with you, and people connect with your employees, and people connect with the business and what it is that you guys do. And despite your resistance to social media and other tactics, these did have an impact. The posts lead to people recognizing you and feeling connected to you when you walk into a room, whereas before they just kind of knew who you were and why you were there. And so allowed for more conversation for you to be a part of. And that leads into sales and people being attracted to the company in terms of being your employee. You have over 200 people that work there because you care about the community and because you care about the people that you're helping. And I'm assuming it's because you care about them as well. And then the community also means informing and improving. So that leads to the morning show and how you allowed yourself to inform the community about what they might not know and position yourself as a thought leader to other people in the industry, but also as a trustworthy person to reach out to when you're in that, what's the word? Sensitive, when you're in that sensitive situation where you're considering having someone come in for your parents or your grandparents or whoever they may be, or it might be them themselves that need your help. So you just being open and honest and having the communication with your community, focusing on your community has really improved the outcome of the business.
Yeah, you're right. She recaps well.
Hannah's such a great storyteller and really pulls down everything that we hear in these conversations in such a great way. So
I think for it to give it a little bit of perspective, you guys both own businesses. I've learned from you. So I'm just, through all of these interviews, I hear things that you guys might not, you're like, oh, I did that forever ago, or that was a small thing. To me, it's like, oh, I've never done that. Let me try. So that's kind of where I am
love
with
that
it.
perspective. I love how you give us that perspective. That's so amazing. Well, any closing thoughts from you, Kimberly? I applaud you for continuing to be agile in your marketing space and learn and get out there into your community. Is there anything else you'd like to share as we wind down?
No, I think, we just consistent actions, showing up, whether it's social or otherwise. And then, the ripple effects will come sooner or later.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. It's been a great episode. We've got some takeaways here that Hannah recapped. We really appreciate your time today. And to my listeners, I'll say we really appreciate your time tuning in and listening to this amazing business owner's story. Would you like to share your contact information with our listeners, Kimberly?
Sure. The website is homewithhelp, so it's HOMEWITHHELP.net. And then on that site, you can find, obviously, the links to all of the social links. And our emails, phone numbers, everything is all on the website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. And everyone, take what you learned from Kimberly today and go out and find your hummingbird effect.
Thanks for listening to The Hummingbird Effect with Wendy Colter. We hope you found this episode valuable. Please be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more or to work with Wendy and her team, go to hummingbird-creative.com.